Hi, my name is Jeannie Lithcott. I am co-director of voter services for the League of Women Voters of Palo Alto.
And my name is David Springer. I'm one of the volunteers in the Palo Alto League of Women Voters community, and we're both here to provide you information about the Voter Services Act.
Let me first introduce the League of Women Voters and what we stand for. We were born 100 years ago in 1920 when 2 million women got the right to vote, and we needed to help them exercise that right. We neither support nor oppose candidates or parties. And maybe the other most important thing is that our mission is to spread democracy. And so we're here today to educate the citizens of Santa Clara County about a new opportunity and a new mechanism for voting.
So the Voters' Choice Act is really one of the more dramatic changes in how people vote in California that's occurred probably within my lifetime. It's the intention behind it is about increasing participation. It's removing the barriers that people have that make it difficult or challenging to vote, and instead making it possible for people to vote on a schedule that's convenient to them so that if they want to vote, they can vote. And and all aspects of the election process are changing. How you vote, when you vote, where you vote, and what type of support is available to you when you are voting. And this is not while this is the first season, primary season, that this has been implemented in Santa Clara County, it's not the first one that's been implemented in the state. And in prior counties in the state, they've seen a 4 to 5% increase in participation, and which is huge. Yeah. And so this really does allow people to vote where today they have difficulty. And so that's why the elections are changing. So let's go into some of the details of how they're changing. So how you will be voting. So there's really 3 options to vote. So you can still vote by mail. So that process really hasn't changed from what it's been in the last couple decades. It's still around, it's still continuing, you're welcome to use it. You can also drop your ballot off at a voting designated drop box location, which there's 120 plus locations across Santa Clara County. You can use any of them. You can go to a vote center and drop off your ballot there. So that replaces your old precinct places where you used to physically go and vote. Now you can physically go and drop your ballot in the ballot box, or you can physically go, the third option, you can go to the vote center and cast your vote directly there, either by dropping your ballot in the ballot box or by going to the voting machine and doing your voting there.
So it may be, David, that one of the most important changes for a lot of voters is that there are no more polling places. The notion of a polling place and a precinct has disappeared. Yeah.
Now, one thing that hasn't changed is if you are submitting your ballot, you have to sign the envelope or your vote is not counted. That has always been the case, but it's a rule people oftentimes forget. You will get your ballot mailed to you. Every registered voter gets a ballot mailed to them. There'll be reminder postcards. You'll get a lot of information to you to remind you to vote and remind you how to vote. If you're an overseas voter, you're going to see you have your own process for that. But the key point is you have 3 options, and 2 of them are brand new. So then the question of where will you vote, or when and where. Excuse me. So the voting times have been dramatically expanded. So with mail-in balloting, you've always been able to mail it in several weeks before the election. That has not changed. But for drop boxes, you can start dropping off your ballots up to 30 days before the election on beginning February 3rd. Vote centers are open 7 days a week, Monday through Sunday. The exact schedule of each vote center will change. Some open at 7, some open at 8, some open at 9. And they typically are open for an 8-hour time block. But those vote centers are all over the county. You can use any one of them. And those are typically open for a full 11 days before the election day itself, which is March 3rd for the primaries, and our traditional November 1 will also be 11 days before that. The locations of all these drop boxes and vote centers are still being added to, but the link on your screen will tell you how to find the most convenient location.
There is a difference between, thank you for mentioning the vote centers, David, that was great. Some of them are 11-day, They're open 2 weekends, including 2 weekends before the election, which means people don't have to take time off work to go and get the help from the vote centers that they would like to have. But more vote centers are actually open only 4 days before the election, which is the weekend before the election, so Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then the election day itself. Again, increasing the convenience and accessibility for voters. Yeah.
Now, the vote centers are really something that's new this time around. It is your one-stop shop for anything you need to do. You need to change your ballot, you need a new ballot, you want to change your party preference, you want to make any change to your voting setup, you need a new, you need something in a different language, you've got, you need help, someone's help to help you vote, you need to use machines for those who are visually impaired. Everything could be done in a vote center. Now, the downside of a vote center is they're likely to be very crowded on actual election Tuesday. So if you do need to use a vote center, I strongly encourage you to go 3 days earlier, 5 days earlier, a week earlier, when it's not going to be as busy. You can go on election day, you absolutely can, but you're going to have shorter lines and an easier time to do your job and get out the door if you go on an earlier day.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. Should we talk a little bit about the primary election, the notion of a primary election, which is March 3rd this year, in case you have forgotten. We used to have primaries in June, but this one is March 3rd. And a primary election is intended to have people who belong to particular parties to cast a vote for the presidential candidate they want for their own party. So, for instance, the Republican, the Green, and the Peace and Freedom parties require that a voter be registered as a member of one of those parties in order to vote in the primary election. Democrat, Libertarian, and the American Independent Party people who have registered for those parties can also vote for their own candidates. But here's an interesting thing. An increasing number of voters have become no party preference voters, which means they reserve the right to vote independently of party. And for those voters, there's an incredibly important issue that you must take care of. If you are a no party preference voter, you must get in touch with the registrar of voters, either by directly calling them or responding to a postcard that they have sent you to say, you would like to have a ballot for either the Democrat, the Libertarian, or the American Independent Party. If you don't choose one of those three parties as a no party preference voter, you will get a ballot where the candidate spot will be completely blank. Should that happen and you haven't taken care of it, you can go to a vote center and require or ask for a ballot for the party for which you want to choose to vote. In other words, those three parties, the Democrats, the Libertarians, and the American Independent Party, have offered this option to the no party preference voters who can vote in a primary without changing their status as an independent voter. So that's probably the most important thing that people need to know about that issue.
And just as a reminder, it's not just the presidential candidate, Senate, House. There's a lot of offices which, if it says the parties, if it says the candidate's a Democrat or Republican or Peace and Freedom, then that's a primary in March 3rd. And if you want to see that on your ballot and your no party preference, then you have to go this extra step. Right. Everybody else, if you're registered to one of the 6 parties, you don't need to do anything special. You'll see your candidates.
And at this point, I'm just going to say at the end of this video, what we hope, David and I, is that you will go out and talk to every one of your friends, every one of the people that belong to the same clubs as you. And so we need for every single human being in Santa Clara County to know about these changes that are occurring for the March 3rd election. Thanks.
So now we're going to go into various common questions and answers. So the first one is, I want to find out more information about candidates, initiatives. Where can I go? There are a lot of websites. The particular one listed here, votersedge.org, is one the League of Women Voters has created that allows candidates to tell you about themselves. So you can compare and contrast candidates for offices that you may not know as much about. It also provides information about initiatives, but it's in a strictly nonpartisan manner. But there are many other websites out there. You're welcome to do so. But the key is to find information. It lists the cities that belong in Santa Clara County. So if you're in one of these cities, then everything we're telling you about applies to you. If you're not from one of these cities, then you have to look at your county's representatives to find that equivalent information. Some common misunderstandings. You can't make mistakes on your ballot. So you can't make a mistake and scratch it out. These are machine-read ballots. The machines will not deal with that, and you will lose your vote for that particular contest. If you do make a mistake, you want to go to a vote center and get a new ballot. That's the only way to make sure your vote fully counts. If English is not your preferred language, there are 7, 8 different other languages you can choose from, and you can request those in hand, or again, go to a vote center to get a version of your ballot in that language.
Before you go to the next question, David, maybe it's a good idea to jump in right now and say that in 2018, this law, the Voters' Choice Act, was passed in 2016, but the governor in his wisdom decided that all 58 counties of California would not be required to act according to the Voters' Choice Act immediately. Only 5 counties opted in to do this in 2018. One of them, those 5 counties, was our neighboring county, San Mateo. But now in 2020, 10 more counties have joined the original 5. So 15 counties in the state will be voting according to the Voters' Choice Act regulations and rules. Here's the interesting thing, that those 15 counties that are acting according to VCA right now, they actually comprise more than 50% of the voters of the state of California. Basically, because Los Angeles County and Orange County are included with a lot of the others. And so our county, Santa Clara County, is joining one of 15 for this time. We do have data from what happened in 2015, which I think David is going to talk about later. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right, other questions. There's always someone who wants to know, can I vote twice? The answer is no. Ballots are identified by the person in the ballot code, and every time before the ballots are counted, they check that there's a duplicate check that occurs. So if someone was to steal your ballot and you replaced it by going to a vote center, that would immediately be flagged in the system as a potential duplicate. It would be assigned to a sheriff to deal with in a normal investigation. So it is just not possible to vote twice. And as far as the security of the ballot drop boxes, they are very secure. They're really sturdy boxes. They're chained in locations, or they're inside of buildings. You can't reach into a drop box and pull out a ballot. Once your ballot's in the box, it is going to get to the Register of Voters, and it's going to get counted. Okay, postcard about primary preference. This was the conversation we started a little bit earlier. So we have 6 political parties within California, and you can be registered for any of those 6 and vote in the primaries for those parties. So if you're part of the Green Party, and then you will see on all the candidates for the Green Party, you will vote for which candidate the Green Party wants to send forward to the general election. Now, if you are no party preference, those sections of the ballot will all be blank. People don't like to, there'll be other aspects, nonpartisan elections, initiatives that will still be on your ballot, so your ballot is not useless, but is mostly going to be blank. So if you want to see stuff and you want to vote in the primary, 3 of the parties allowed you a chance to do so, but you have to ask. So you're going to get a postcard that gives you the process for doing that, and you could go in person and also change that in the vote center.
Maybe it would be a good time to talk about the American Independent Party. It is an incredibly confusing name. The American Independent Party is actually a party with very conservative views, which is perfectly all right, but it is confusing to voters many of whom choose the American Independent Party because the name carrying the word independent means that they think that they will be independent voters if they belong to that party. It's wrong. It's just incorrect, but it has fooled a lot of voters now in several of the last elections. So it is a highly conservative party, which is fine. Independent means no party preference, and we've spoken about that. Thank you, David.
All right. There are a lot of options for if you have disabilities. There's a remote accessible system for people who are overseas or who cannot go to a voting site. Obviously, you can mail in your ballots. You can bring up to 2 individuals to a voting center and have them assist you with voting. There are special equipment for people with visually impairment. And if none of these quite work for you, then you can go to a vote center. You can call the Register of Voters and find a process that can work for you, and they will work with you as best they can. Security of election machines, nothing's perfect, but they've done everything they can to make the machines as perfect, as secure as possible. They've extensively tested them. They don't connect to the internet. They are so it is as secure as they can make it.
The other thing is, of course, that the electronic system, all the vote centers and all of the register voters people, they're all instantly connected. And so if vote goes into a drop box in Sunnyvale, as soon as that is registered, it's immediately on everybody else's record. Yeah.
Now, every time we talk about how your ballot is individually numbered, it's connected to your name, and we talk about how you can't do a duplicate, people get a little worried about that. Are people going to know my vote? And the answer to that is no. So once the process says you have voted, there are no duplicates, then the only information that can be pulled out that then assigned to you is the fact that you voted. So your party can, if you are registered for party X, that party can say who in my party has voted in the last election, and they will give you a list of names, and if you voted, your name will be on that. Right. But they won't tell you who you voted for. That is secret. Mm-hmm. And it has been, and this has not changed at all. It's been in place for a number of years, and nothing's changed with regards to this.
Good job. Yeah. Okay.
These are the fun questions.
Right.
What color is your ballot? Your ballot is white. Your envelope is blue. Sometimes this creates confusion.
So since you have to sign the envelope,
yes,
right, better have a black pen handy.
Correct.
Because it's a blue envelope.
You want it to be visible.
Yes.
And if you want your I vote sticker, they include it with your ballot. You don't have to go in person anymore. You can just take it from your ballot and put it on. This is actually something I enjoy doing myself. Mm-hmm. So it makes it a little easier to get your sticker this year.
Yeah.
And finally, on the last slide, these are links to all sorts of places with lots of useful information that you can go to get more information from the Register of Voters, from Voters' Choice, Voters' Edge, or the League of Women Voters.
And so let me close out the session from my point of view. One of the important things that is on my mind as the League of Women Voters, Director of Voter Services, is this 100th anniversary. And I created the slogan several weeks ago, which was that Santa Clara County could get 100% of registered voters to actually cast a vote for our 100th anniversary. We could be a model for the nation. We got to 82.7%. Back in, I think, the 2016 election, we're close. So Santa Clara County, come on, let's do that. And come to a party on February 22nd at the Palo Alto Arts Center, which is opposite the Rinconada Library, which is the main big 11-day vote center for Palo Alto. Come to us at the Palo Alto Arts Center on February 22nd between 2 and 4 and participate in this party of resulting in voting for everybody. We'll look forward to seeing you there. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.